A woman stands in a supermarket aisle, holding a bottle of olive oil she bought here last month. On the shelf, there are two prices. One is for everyone, one is for members. The lower number looks like a sale, but it is not really a sale. It is a condition. To get it, she has to scan a card or open an app or type in a number and let the system recognize her again. Nothing dramatic happens, no alarm goes off, no one tells her she is entering a behavioral contract. She just stands there for a second longer than she should, doing the tiny math that now defines so much of modern buying. Am I saving money, or am I paying extra for not participating? That is the moment loyalty programs learned how to disappear. Not by becoming less powerful, but by becoming ordinary. A coffee app that remembers your stars. An airline dashboard that shows how close you are to status. A grocery chain that offers member prices, app-only offers, and tailored weekly deals. All of it arrives with the language of gratitude. Rewards, perks, benefits, exclusive savings. But the emotional force of these systems is rarely the size of the reward itself. It is the quiet pressure of feeling that if you do not play along, you are the one making the expensive mistake. And once that feeling becomes normal, the real question begins. When a loyalty program says it is rewarding you, what is it actually training you to become? At first, the answer looks simple. Someone who comes back. That is the cleanest version of the exchange. Buy enough coffees and the next one is free. Order often enough and your points stack up. Scan at checkout and a discount appears. It all feels small. And that is part of the genius. Because small rewards do not need to transform your life to transform your pattern. They only need to make returning feel slightly smarter than stopping. Picture the morning rush. A man leaves his apartment 10 minutes late, cuts through the same corner and opens the Starbucks app before he reaches the door. He is not studying coffee, he is checking his stars. Maybe he is close to a free drink. Maybe one reward already expired once and he does not want that feeling again. Maybe there is a challenge in the app, maybe not. But the point is that the trip is no longer just about caffeine, it is about continuing a sequence. Starbucks has spent years refining that sequence. In its current program, members collect stars, redeem those stars for different reward levels, and face expiration rules that keep balances from becoming emotionally neutral forever. The company has also leaned harder into status and personalized engagement, including a refreshed program in 2026 that tied more value to ongoing activity and member-specific interaction. That matters because a loyalty program becomes most effective when the customer stops experiencing it as a transaction ledger and starts experiencing it as a living account. Something that can rise, something that can be protected, something that can be wasted. McDonald's plays a similar mass-market game at a different emotional register. The product is cheaper, the ritual more casual, the stakes lower. But the structure is familiar. Buy, earn, return. Open the app, check the balance, notice the expiring offer, redeem a discount, come back before the loop goes cold. A fast food chain does not need to romanticize loyalty for the system to work. It only needs to make the next visit feel pre-loaded. The burger is not chosen in isolation anymore. It arrives attached to a balance, a threshold, a little unfinished business. This is the visible mechanism loyalty programs use first. Not identity, not status, not sophisticated data modeling. Just repetition with a pulse. A reward that sits slightly ahead of you and keeps moving your next decision closer. Behavioral researchers have long described goal gradient effects, where effort tends to increase as people perceive themselves getting closer to a reward. The loyalty version of that insight is almost embarrassingly simple. Do not just sell the coffee, sell the approach to the free coffee. Do not just discount the burger. Create a little runway toward the discounted burger so that each ordinary purchase feels attached to a near future. That future is what keeps the loop alive. And because the loop is broken into small, regular actions, It slides neatly into everyday life. A pharmacy purchase, a sandwich stop, a grocery scan, a fuel discount, a birthday offer, a few cents here, a free item there. Nothing huge, nothing theatrical, just enough to make leaving feel less rational than returning. That is why the reward often feels strangely unsatisfying the moment you finally claim it. Not because it has no value, but because the real product was never the free item. The real product was your return. The free drink is the receipt. The behavior is the purchase. And even that is only the first layer. Because repetition alone does not explain why people become attached to these systems after the reward itself stops being impressive. For that, the system has to do something more intimate. It has to convert spending into a feeling. Late at night, a woman is lying in bed with her phone 6 inches from her face. She is not shopping for a new lipstick because she urgently needs one. She is inside the Sephora app, looking at her Beauty Insider balance. She has enough points for a small reward now, but if she waits, maybe she can get something better. Maybe there is a limited reward drop coming. Maybe using the points now would feel wasteful. So she does nothing, and that nothing still binds her to the system. This is where loyalty stops being a return loop and becomes an emotional meter. Points are powerful not because they are money. Usually they are not. They are powerful because they turn consumption into visible progress. The customer is no longer just buying. The customer is advancing, closer, nearer, almost there. The balance bar fills, the reward threshold approaches. The app creates a tiny narrative of self-movement, and once that narrative exists, spending starts to feel like development. Sephora's Beauty Insider program is a clean example of this conversion. The program organizes shoppers into tiers, assigns value to accumulated points, and under its published terms, lets unredeemed points expire after extended inactivity. That means the point balance is not merely a bonus account sitting off to the side. It is a living tension. Use it. Grow it. Preserve it. Do not let it vanish. Starbucks does the same thing with a different texture. A person can be close to a redemption threshold and still hesitate. Not because the reward is bad, but because redeeming closes the loop for a moment. Keeping the stars can feel like keeping momentum. Some Starbucks members have learned that feeling in tiny monthly increments. The stars are there. The expiration window is there. An eligible action can push that loss a little farther away. A purchase, a redemption, a reload. What looks like a customer-friendly nudge is also an emotional conditioning device. It teaches the member that inactivity has a cost, and that small acts of re-engagement are a sensible way to defend value they already believe is theirs. This is one of the strangest emotional effects loyalty systems produce. They can make claiming the reward feel slightly worse than continuing the chase. Not always, not for everyone, but often enough to matter. Loss aversion helps explain part of this. People tend to feel the pain of losing progress more sharply than the pleasure of an equivalent gain. In a loyalty setting, that means a balance does not behave like static value. It behaves like a fragile possession. Something that can decay through inaction. Something that can be squandered by redeeming too early. Something that starts to feel like it belongs to you before it has produced anything concrete. So the emotional center of the program moves. The reward is no longer the latte, sample, room upgrade, or free side. The reward is the feeling that your past spending has accumulated into a meaningful position. That feeling can be tiny and still work. A commuter checks her coffee app before work and sees she is 12 stars away. A parent at a gas pump keys in a phone number and sees fuel points trim the total. A shopper opens a beauty app not to browse the catalogue, but to confirm that the number in the corner is still there. These are not huge emotional scenes. They do not need to be. Loyalty systems are effective precisely because they colonize small moments that would otherwise pass without psychological weight. And once spending starts to feel like progress, the system can do something even more powerful. It can make progress feel like identity. Watch what happens in travel. A man is booking a flight for a trip that his employer will reimburse anyway. There is a cheaper option on another airline. The timing is better too, but he does not pick it. He chooses Delta. Not because it is obviously the best itinerary on the screen, but because the flight helps him edge toward medallion status. That choice does not feel irrational from the inside. It feels coherent. He is protecting something he has already built. This is the status ladder at work. In airline and hotel loyalty, the reward is often not a free product at all. It is a social position. Delta's medallion program is unusually revealing because it names the hierarchy so clearly. Silver, gold, platinum, diamond. Each tier comes with differentiated benefits, and Delta explicitly frames those tiers as levels of exclusivity and service. Upgrade priority is ordered by status. Choice benefits open at higher levels. Special lines, preferred handling, earlier access, better treatment. The traveler is not only earning future savings, the traveler is earning rank. A Delta account dashboard does something subtle but powerful. It keeps hierarchy visible. You do not have to imagine your standing, you can monitor it. You can watch the distance between where you are and where you want to be. That visibility turns status from an annual corporate abstraction into a recurring emotional event. You are always, in some sense, near advancement or near decline. Marriott Bonvoy extends the same logic into hotel life. Stay enough nights, reach the right thresholds, and the stay is no longer just a stay. It becomes part of a status maintenance project. Priority checkout, late checkout, room upgrades when available, elite recognition. Again, the specific benefit matters, but the deeper mechanism is the social sorting itself. Status changes the emotional meaning of defection. If a coffee app loses you, you miss a reward. If a status ecosystem loses you, you feel yourself sliding downward. That is a much more durable form of attachment. Researchers studying tiered loyalty programs have found that program structure shapes consumers' perceptions of status, and that hierarchy itself can intensify the appeal of elite membership. That sounds abstract until you watch it happen in real life. A traveler takes a less convenient routing because it keeps him with the airline where his status lives. A hotel guest adds another stay late in the year because dropping down a tier feels worse. Then the extra expense feels painful. A frequent flyer checks upgrade lists with the attention of someone tracking a social scoreboard, not just a seat assignment. There is a particular moment in airports that reveals the emotional truth of these systems. Pre-boarding begins. Zones are called. Certain travelers move first, not because they bought a fundamentally different flight, but because the loyalty hierarchy has turned service order into visible rank. Everyone nearby can see it. The tier has become public. That publicness matters. Status is felt more intensely when it can be witnessed. This is why elite loyalty systems are so psychologically efficient. They convert ordinary purchases into identity maintenance. Once that happens, defection is no longer just a switch in brand preference. It becomes a small threat to the self-story the system helped create. I am the kind of traveler who gets the line that moves faster. I am the kind of guest who gets recognized. I am not down there. And now the whole topic starts to shift. Because once a loyalty system knows what you buy, when you buy, how often you return, and what status you care about preserving, it is doing much more than rewarding preference. It is learning the shape of your behavior well enough to govern it. The deepest change in modern loyalty does not happen when a company adds another tier or prettier app graphics. It happens when the loyalty system stops looking like a feature attached to shopping and starts becoming the interface through which shopping itself now happens. The floor drops in a grocery aisle. Tesco is one of the clearest examples. Clubcard prices made the loyalty card more than a points collector. It became a gate to one set of prices. Then, Tesco expanded further with Your Clubcard prices, which the company describes as personalized weekly discounts based on a customer's shopping habits, delivered through the app and refreshed on a weekly cycle. That means the card is not only recording what happened, it is helping decide what the next value environment looks like. This is the midpoint where the topic changes meaning. Before this, loyalty seems like a persuasive marketing layer. After this, it starts to look more like infrastructure. Scan to save, sign in to see your offers, stay logged in to see what price belongs to you. The loyalty system is no longer sitting after the transaction, waiting to issue a thank you. It is now sitting inside the transaction, shaping what the transaction is. Back in that supermarket aisle, the woman with the olive oil is not facing one market price and one optional bonus. She is facing two realities: a public price and a member price. In some cases now, even a personalized member price. The lower number does not simply reward loyalty after the fact. It invites identification before the purchase is complete. That is not a cosmetic change. It changes the emotional structure of buying. The non-member price begins to feel punitive, even when it is technically just the shelf price. The logged-in price begins to feel like the true price, even though access to it depends on recognition, tracking, and continued participation. Tesco says your Clubcard prices are based on shopping habits, updated weekly, and viewable through the app or account. Tesco also tells customers, in its own Clubcard Unpacked language, that the more they use Clubcard, the more the company can tell them about their shopping habits. That is a remarkably clear statement of what modern loyalty has become. Not just a rebate mechanism, a learning mechanism. The app becomes the behavior channel. The account becomes the key. The card becomes a passport into conditional value. And once you see that, earlier examples look different. The Starbucks app is not just a convenient way to collect stars. It is a signed-in environment that keeps the customer addressable. Delta is not just rewarding flights. It is building a dashboard relationship in which progress, benefits, and aspiration remain continuously visible. Loyalty is no longer thanking you for preference. It is becoming the system through which preference gets organized. A commuter on a train opens an airline app. He is not booking anything. He is checking where he stands. A shopper at self-checkout sees that one digital tap changes the total. A customer receives a set of just for you offers and experiences them as help, even though they are also instructions about what to notice next. The shift is easy to miss because it arrives wrapped in convenience. The app already has your payment details. The card is already in your wallet. The total really does go down when you scan. That practicality is what gives the system cover. The more useful it becomes, the less visible its governing role appears. This is why the subject gets bigger at the midpoint. The real power of loyalty is not that it can make you feel rewarded. It is that it can make participation feel like the normal condition of fair treatment. And once that happens, the system does not just know your behavior. It can start shaping your timing. A man sits at his kitchen table on a Sunday night, trying to cancel a subscription-like hotel rhythm he no longer even enjoys. Not an official subscription, a softer one. The habit of always staying in the same ecosystem. He opens the account page. There is status there. There are earned credits there. There are benefits that will still matter if he just keeps going a little longer. So he does not cancel the pattern. He extends it. Not because anyone forced him to, but because loyalty programs are very good at making delay feel costly and continuation feel efficient. This is the tempo layer. MGM Rewards shows it in unusually visible form. The program revolves around points, tier credits, milestones, and temporary accelerators that can fast-track movement through the hierarchy. MGM has promoted daily tier credit accelerators, status match challenges with limited windows, and milestone rewards that unlock at specific thresholds. The message is not just spend with us. It is spend now, in this way, under these conditions, while the momentum is favorable. There is something almost architectural about the way these time structures work. A threshold on its own is static. An accelerator turns that threshold into an event. A status match on its own is a perk. A limited challenge turns it into a countdown. The customer is no longer evaluating value in calm conditions. The customer is evaluating value inside a manufactured tempo. Delta has its own version of this time pressure. Medallion status is earned against thresholds, enhanced through qualifying dollars and partner activity, and supplemented by mechanisms like MQD Boost and other threshold-linked earning paths. Even the year-end language around status becomes a motivational instrument. How close are you? What is left? What can still be secured? Who wants to let a whole year of progress fall short? This matters because timing control is subtler than brand love. A company does not need you to adore the brand every day. It needs you to act inside the right windows. Use the offer before midnight. Book before the threshold closes. Keep the streak alive. Respond while the accelerator is live. These prompts reshape the emotional rhythm of ordinary buying. A worker on a lunch break glances at an app because an offer expires tonight. A casino guest lingers one more day because a tier accelerator makes the next threshold feel suddenly reachable. A traveler who was finished spending for the year starts running status math in November because falling short would make all prior effort feel wasted. This is not just urgency, it is managed tempo. The system teaches customers when action feels intelligent and when waiting feels like leakage. And that creates a very specific kind of consumer. Not simply loyal, responsive, conditioned to treat the platform's timing as part of their own decision logic. But even that is not the deepest layer. Because shaping your return and shaping your tempo still leave one question open. Who gets to define what a good price is in the first place? The answer is changing. A mother stands in a grocery store parking lot with her cart half unloaded, holding her phone in one hand and reading glasses in the other. She is not comparing brands. She is trying to remember whether she clipped the digital coupon. If she did, the cereal is one price. If she did not, it is another. If her loyalty account is linked properly, maybe the fuel points balance softens the week. If not, the total shifts again. The line between shopping and account management has nearly disappeared. This is what happens when loyalty stops rewarding price and starts redefining price. Tesco's club card prices make the distinction visible in Britain. Kroger's ecosystem makes it visible in the United States. Kroger ties everyday shopping to fuel points, member-linked savings, and a digital account environment built around clipped coupons, personalized offers, and app-based visibility. The company advertises that shoppers can earn points through their loyalty ID, track balances, and unlock online-only deals through a digital account. Its coupon policies also make clear that digital coupons are loaded to the card and applied through that member relationship. That means the price a customer experiences is increasingly mediated by account status and digital participation. The same shelf no longer has one stable meaning. It has a base meaning and a member meaning, sometimes an app meaning, sometimes a personalized meaning layered on top. That has consequences far beyond convenience. A market becomes harder to read when the effective price depends on whether you are logged in, whether you clipped something in time, whether your household account is linked, whether this week's offers match your history, whether the promotion is public or conditional. The customer can still save money inside that system, sometimes a lot of money. That is what makes the arrangement powerful. It delivers real value while also changing the conditions under which value is perceived. A shopper feels smart for saving, and often she did save. But the system also taught her what counts as smart. It taught her to think of undisclosed effort as normal, to accept that one person's price may not really be another person's price, to experience identification as part of ordinary commerce. There is another reason this matters. When prices become conditional, forgetting becomes expensive. Not forgetting in some abstract way, forgetting the card, forgetting the login, forgetting to load the coupon before checkout, forgetting which app governs which aisle. The cost is often small on any one purchase, but psychologically it teaches the customer that vigilance is now part of thrift. Saving money is no longer only about choosing well. It is about maintaining access. That changes the burden of shopping. The labor moves quietly onto the customer, who is expected to manage identities, passwords, alerts, balances, and offer windows just to meet the system at its best price. And because that labor is fragmented into tiny acts, it rarely feels like labor at all. It feels like being organized. It feels like being savvy. It feels like being the kind of person who knows how the game is played. That feeling is one of the system's strongest rewards. Not only the saved pound or saved dollar, but the small glow of competence that comes from moving correctly through a designed environment. There is a quiet cultural shift inside that arrangement. Older retail taught people to compare posted prices. Newer loyalty retail teaches people to compare states of access. Do I have the app? Did I load the offer? Am I signed in? Is this price for me? That is a different mental model of buying. In older loyalty logic, the company thanked you after the purchase. In newer loyalty logic, the company helps construct the price landscape before you choose. That is a structural shift. It means loyalty is not merely influencing preference after the fact. It is altering the environment in which comparison itself happens. And now the human cost becomes easier to see, not because people are foolish, not because every reward system is sinister, but because repeated participation leaves a residue. A new customer self begins to form. The exhausted version of you opens the same delivery app because your points are already there. The traveling version of you pays a little more to stay inside one chain because starting over somewhere else feels like losing ground. The grocery version of you stops seeing member pricing as special and starts seeing non-member pricing as a personal failure to remember the ritual. That self is built gradually. One coffee app check, one card scan, one clipped offer, one preserved tier, one almost redeemed balance. Then another. Then a few years pass and your preference feels natural. But often what feels natural has been carefully scaffolded. The morning coffee choice that once felt open now arrives narrowed by stored stars and familiar prompts. The travel booking that once centered on route and price now includes the emotional gravity of status retention. The supermarket shelf that once asked only what things cost now asks whether you are recognized. There is a scene after work that captures this perfectly. Someone stands in a doorway, tired, hungry, and mentally spent. They could try somewhere new. They could compare options. They could break the loop. Instead, they open the familiar app because the rewards are already waiting there. The payment method is already stored there. The account already knows them there. That decision feels like convenience, and it is convenience, but it is also what long-term behavioral design looks like when it becomes indistinguishable from ease. Bring the major anchors back into daily life, and a pattern appears. At Starbucks, the signed-in ritual turns repetition into account maintenance. At Delta, the tiered dashboard turns travel into rank preservation. At Tesco, the scan turns price into a conditional relationship. These are different industries. They look separate on the surface, but they are all versions of the same deeper design. They train people to check before choosing, to preserve before comparing, to return before reconsidering. And once those habits settle in, the most powerful thing the system produces is not dependency in some dramatic sense. It is familiarity. The system's version of convenience starts to feel like ordinary life. Its prompts feel helpful, its categories feel obvious, its little frictions feel deserved, its rewards feel earned, even when the system itself arranged the path that made earning them feel compelling. That is why loyalty programs are so hard to evaluate honestly. They are not fake. The savings can be real. The upgrades can be real. The convenience can be real. The pleasure can be real too. That is not the contradiction. That is the mechanism. The system does not work by offering nothing. It works by offering enough value to make the deeper trade easy to ignore. And the deeper trade is not just data for discounts. It is your decision rhythm, your sense of progress, your threshold for switching, your perception of what a normal price looks like, your tolerance for being sorted, nudged, and addressed as an account before you are addressed as a person. So we return to the supermarket aisle. The same bottle of olive oil, the same 2 prices. Only now the lower number reads differently. It is not just a small gift waiting for a smart shopper. It is evidence of a larger arrangement. A price made available through recognition. A saving attached to submission into a system that remembers, predicts, and guides. That is why the word reward is too small. A reward comes after the act. It thanks you and lets you go. What many modern loyalty systems do is different. They reach backward into your past behavior, forward into your next decision, and sideways into the environment around the choice itself. They do not just mark what you did, they help shape what you do next, when you do it, how you feel about it, and what leaving would cost. A loyalty program does not need to control you completely to change you permanently. It only needs to make its version of convenience feel normal, its version of value feel true, and its version of returning feel like your own decision. That is the deeper frame. The point was never the point. The status was never just the seat. The member price was never just a discount. The real product was predictability. A customer who comes back on cue. A customer who checks the app. A customer who learns the system's language and starts calling it instinct. You can still take the points. Just stop calling them a thank you. This channel is for seeing the systems beneath the interface.